I've heard stories about weird things happening in motels, but I never thought I'd experience one myself. My name is Daniel, and this happened to me about 2 years ago. I was driving through the middle of nowhere, late at night, trying to make it home without stopping. Then my car broke down. No gas, no way to call anyone. I had no signal, nothing around, except this one old motel by the side of the road. I was cold, tired, and honestly didn't care how creepy it looked. I just needed a bed. The guy at the front desk looked like he hadn't slept in days. He didn't ask for my name or ID. He just said, "There's only one room left, room 103. Then he paused and looked at me kind of funny. "You sure you want that one?" I nodded and said, "Yeah, that's fine." I had no idea what I was walking into. Room 103 was way at the end. The door was stiff, like it hadn't been opened in a long time. When I stepped inside, the air was cold. It smelled a little damp, like the room had been sealed up for weeks. It looked like the staff hadn't cleaned up since the last guest. The bed was messy, bottles were on the floor, and the whole place smelled like stale wine and old carpet. I thought about reporting it, maybe asking for a different room, but I was too tired, so I just let it go. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and laid back on the bed. I pulled out my phone and called my girlfriend to let her know I made it somewhere for the night. She was still awake. I told her where I was staying and joked about how the place looked like something from a horror movie. She laughed and said, "Don't let anything crawl into bed with you." We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodnight and hung up. That was the last normal moment of the night. I must have dozed off because I woke up a little later feeling freezing. It was quiet, but something felt off. I sat up and noticed that steam was coming from under the bathroom door. I hadn't even gone in there yet. I could hear water running. The shower was on. I got up slowly and walked over to the door. The steam was heavy. I opened it and sure enough, the shower was blasting hot water. The curtain was shut and the mirror was fogged up. I stood there for a second, then pulled the curtain open. There was no one inside, no soap, no wet footprints, nothing. Just a running shower and a room full of steam. I shut it off and stood there trying to figure out how it turned on by itself. Then I heard it. 3 slow knocks. They weren't coming from the front door. They came from the closet. I turned toward it slowly. The room had gone dead silent again. The closet was over by the bed, one of those sliding wooden doors. I hadn't touched it since I got there. I stood there staring at it, trying to figure out if I was just being paranoid. Then I looked at the mirror, and in the reflection I could see that the closet door was slightly open. But when I looked at it directly, it was closed. That's when I really started to feel uneasy. I walked over and slid the door open slowly. It was empty. No shelves, no hangers. Just an open, dusty space like no one had used it in years. Right then, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. I answered, not really thinking. There was no voice at first, just a long silence. Then a voice, soft and clear. "Don't leave the room. He's in the hallway." I froze. I didn't even hang up. I dropped the phone and rushed to the door. I looked through the peephole. There was someone standing in the hallway. He was facing away from my door, not moving, not saying anything. He was barefoot and wearing what looked like an old motel uniform. He was just standing there. I backed away slowly, not even sure I was breathing. Then the lamp next to the bed flickered a few times. When I looked through the peephole again, the hallway was empty. I let out a breath and turned toward the bed, and that's when I saw something moving in the mirror. There was something crawling along the ceiling. Its arms and legs were long and thin, way too long, and bent in ways they shouldn't bend. It was moving weird, like it wasn't used to its own body, twitchy and slow. But when I looked up at the real ceiling, there was nothing there. The thing was only in the mirror. I stared at it, frozen, and then its head turned, slowly, and it looked right at me. I didn't wait. I grabbed my bag and ran out without shoes. When I got back to the front desk, there was a different guy standing there, younger, calm, like he'd just started his shift. He looked at me and said, "Hey, where are you coming from?" I told him, "Room 103. He looked confused. "Wait, I've been here all night. I didn't see you check in." I just stared at him. The guy who gave me the key, older, kind of tired looking, he shook his head. "I'm the only staff on duty tonight." Then he leaned in slightly and said, Room 103 hasn't been used in months. Someone died in there 4 months ago. No one knows how. He just never woke up. I didn't say a word. I dropped the key on the counter, walked straight to my car, and drove. I don't know how I got that room. I don't know who gave me the key. And to be honest, I don't think I want to know. This happened in 2022. My wife and I were driving back from a wedding out of state. It was pretty late, after midnight, and we didn't feel like driving all the way home, so we pulled off and looked for somewhere cheap to crash. We ended up at this little motel off the highway, one of those rundown places. Red neon sign, blinking, vacancy. 20 rooms maybe. We were both tired, so we didn't care how it looked. Just needed a bed. We paid cash. The guy at the front desk barely looked at us. Just handed me a key to room 9 and said, "Checkout's at 10. That was it. The room was rough, smelled weird, scratchy sheets, AC unit making that clicking noise. But whatever. We weren't trying to be picky. Sarah showered. I got in bed. We left the light on. Neither of us was that tired yet. We were just hanging out, still talking about the wedding, the food, her dress, some guy's weird toast that made everyone uncomfortable. Just joking around. TV was on mute, our phones were charging, felt normal. Then we heard knocking. Not loud, just 3 knocks. Then a pause, then 3 more. We both stopped talking. I said, "You heard that, right?" Sarah nodded. I sat up, stared at the door for a second, then said out loud, "Hello? Who is it?" A few seconds later, someone replied, "Your worst nightmare." That's when I got up and went to the peephole, and I saw him. He had a black hoodie on, head down, just standing there with his hands at his sides. He didn't move, didn't even knock again. Then he tilted his head, like he knew I was watching, and said, "I see you." Right after that, he started slamming on the door. I mean hard, full-on pounding, over and over, like he was trying to break it down. Sarah jumped up. I backed away fast and said, "We're getting out of here." I grabbed my phone, no signal, tried hers, nothing. The guy hit the door again, the whole thing shook. I ran to the bathroom and opened the window. It was small, but I managed to squeeze through. I turned back to help Sarah out. She was halfway through when we heard the doorknob turning behind us. Not break, turn, like someone had a key. I grabbed her arm and started pulling. She was screaming, "Help me, don't let go!" And I was holding her with both hands, trying to pull her out. But whatever had her, it was stronger. It was like her whole body just got yanked back all at once. She slipped from my grip, and she was gone. I climbed back inside. The room was empty. The front door was wide open. No sign of her. I ran through the hallway yelling her name, searched the parking lot, around the building, even into the trees behind the place. Nothing. The cops showed up quick. Dogs, flashlights, everything. They found her around 6 a.m., about half a mile out, deep in the woods behind the property. She was barefoot, scratched up, completely out of it. She wouldn't talk, couldn't explain anything. Just kept saying she didn't remember. It's been almost a year now. She still doesn't talk about it. She won't go near motels, won't even look at them when we drive past. She's in therapy now, still gets jumpy at night, and we haven't traveled since. That night messed her up in a way I don't think I'll ever fully understand. This happened in 2021. It was me, my wife, and our 10-year-old son, Leo. We were driving back from a family visit. Storm caught us just outside Kentucky. It wasn't just rain. It was one of those hard, loud storms where the water sounds like rocks hitting your windshield. I couldn't see 10 feet ahead. We were supposed to make it home that night, but I wasn't going to risk it. Around 1 a.m., we spotted a tiny motel on the side of the road. Flickering vacancy sign, parking lot half flooded. As we pulled in, I noticed this guy standing near the ice machine outside, wearing dark clothes, leaning against the wall, smoking. At first I thought he was just a guest, but when we parked and got out, he didn't move. He didn't blink. He just watched us. Didn't nod. Didn't go inside. Just stared, like he was waiting for us to say something. I looked at my wife. She noticed him too. I remember whispering, "Let's just get the key and get inside." We walked past him and I said, "Evening." No reply. and the front desk was empty at first. Then a man came out from the back, looked like he'd just woken up. Didn't smile, didn't ask for ID. Just slid a key across the counter and said, "Room 14, you're the last ones." I asked, "Got any vending machines or anything open?" He just pointed behind him and said, "You should stay in tonight." The room was small but warm. One queen bed, one twin, a tiny TV bolted to the dresser. Leo took the smaller bed. My wife and I sat on ours, scrolling through our phones, listening to the rain. We talked for a while about how the storm came out of nowhere. She joked that the motel felt like something out of a horror movie. I laughed, because it kind of did. But nothing weird happened, at least not at first. The next morning, Leo was quiet while we packed up. He kept glancing at the bathroom door. Right before we left, he said, "Was that guy supposed to come in last night?" I stopped and asked, "What guy?" He said, "The one we saw outside. The man with the jacket. I think he came into the room." I asked if he meant in a dream. He shook his head and said, "No." I woke up a little and saw him standing at the foot of the bed. Then he left. That bothered me. I didn't say anything to my wife, but when we went to return the key, I asked the guy at the front desk if there were security cameras. He stared at me for a few seconds, then said, "There's one in the hallway." I asked if we could check it. He didn't argue, just turned the monitor around and started scrolling back through the footage. We watched the footage together. At 2:47 a.m., the man from outside appeared on the hallway camera. He walked right up to our door, used a key, went inside. Then the desk guy switched to the internal camera. There he was, inside the room, standing at the foot of our bed, watching us, still, calm, not saying anything. After almost a full minute, he turned around, unlocked the door from the inside, and walked out. The guy behind the desk just stared at the screen for a second, then said, "I was here all night." I never saw him. We didn't wait for checkout. We left right then, shoes half on, bag still open. I wanted to go to the police. I even said it out loud in the car. But my wife just looked at me and said, "Please, I don't want to talk about it anymore." So we never did. Up till now, I still can't wrap my head around it. A complete stranger walked into our room in the middle of the night, stood there while we slept, and left without a sound. That's it. He didn't break in, didn't steal anything, didn't even say a word. He just stood there and watched us.